What is a dormant company and what do you have to do for company's house purposes and tax purposes? Hi, I'm Kimberly Shapcott, qualified chartered accountant, property investor and entrepreneur. Let's sit down and have a chat. Dormant company accounts, what are they? Well, there are several definitions of dormant accounts, and that depends if we're looking at what Companies House says or if we look at what HM Revenue and Customs are saying. So let us start with what Companies House call dormant accounts, and then we can expand from there. So dormant company accounts for Companies House purposes are very much dormant accounts. There is nothing happening with them. So this literally means that you have a company, you have some shares, and that is it. It means there is no bank account. It means nothing has happened. So it's basically you're sitting on a company that's done nothing for now. Now, if that is the case, then you are doing the most minimal company accounts possible. And what you can actually do is just a Companies House form. The Companies House form being an AA02 Dormant Company Accounts or DCA form. And this is basically, you will put, you've got cash in the business, shares that have been sitting there, and that's pretty much it. So if you do want to be doing your own dormant company accounts, it's very possible for you to do these. If you need any support from them, speak to an accountant, and again, they will be able to help you get these dormant company accounts in for hopefully a small charge for you. Now the next step is where we actually have a bank account. Even if nothing's really been happening in that bank account, but it's got a bank account. So that means for Companies House purposes, it's not dormant anymore, it's got something happening. However, for corporation tax purposes, still nothing's happening. Even though it's got a company bank account, it might not actually have any activity in it. So at this point, for Companies House, you do actually need to do a set of accounts. Even though there's not necessarily anything in there, you'll need to do a more formal set of accounts. This means you can't just do that Companies House form AA02 form. You actually do need to do a set of formal statutory accounts, even though there's, as you can tell, not really anything in them. One tip to be aware of and something to just keep an eye out for is sometimes HM Revenue and Customs will request that you send a corporation tax return in, even though nothing is happening in your company. So in this case, you will just need to write back to them to tell them that the company is dormant and that it won't necessarily be doing anything. It doesn't need to do a corporation tax return. And in respect of that, that you will confirm when the company is trading and basically to try and remove the requirement that they want a corporation tax return for going forward. If you've then told HM Revenue and Customs that the company is dormant, you will then need to remember when you have started trading, you do need to let HM Revenue and Customs know that you have started trading and that you will need to be doing a corporation tax return going forward. So it's at this point that you need to then be doing a full set of accounts which will actually have some activity in, and then a corporation tax return. So as you can see, there's just a few slight variations here where you maybe need to do just a form that Companies House can deliver, a set of accounts which you may be able to do on Companies House website, or you may need to have some sort of software, which may mean you need to use an accountant to submit. And then you get to the point of actually having full trading accounts where things are happening, you're buying, selling property, you're getting rental income in from a source, all these different things. And at that point you will be trading and you need to do the full shebang of all the other things that you'll see on the company accounts videos and all the allowable expenses for tax purposes. This hopefully explains from a starting point where you may fit in if you've not had much happening in your company yet. This is only the case when you hit the first 12 months. So if you've got a company that's basically been on the shelf for 12 months, you may need to be doing something like this. If you've got a company where you've only started trading in maybe months 10 or 11, you may want to consider changing the year end to give you a 10, 11 month non-trading period and then start your new trading period on. But have a word with your accountant if that might be something that is worthwhile for you. The final point to mention is if you're looking at closing a company down or going towards a dormant position. So if you're heading towards dormant position because you may have sold the properties or the rent-to-rent agreements have come to an end and you don't want to renew, so you may be getting to that position where you do actually want to become dormant. If that's the case, then the key thing here is to close down all of the expenses and potentially close down the bank account so that you actually do literally go back to the company's house form where you have that dormant company accounts, that AA02 form, where you've just got the company, shares, and the cash that is for the shareholdings. And then that keeps it very simple as far as possible. If it's not possible to quite get that dormant, you may be able to just go back to those simple accounts where there's not a lot going on and there's just a few balances that aren't really moving. When this is the case, when you're going from a trading company into a dormant company, again, we can look at just writing to HM Revenue and Customs to actually tell them the company is now dormant, we don't need to do corporation tax returns, which then just, again, minimises the admin, the red tape, all the different things that go with having a company, to just minimise what it is if you're not looking at closing down the company. Hopefully today you've discovered what type of dormant company you may have. And if you do have any questions, then please do leave a comment. Please like the video and do subscribe to the channel. And let's make tax less taxing. Let's make tax less taxing.